What did Scott Michael say? He says, I do everything the voices in my wife's mind say. How many of you can relate to Scott Michael, right? Because he's so real, right? It's like, wow, 7 years to hit 1,000 points. And like MJ has said, we weren't sitting on our couch. We were out there doing it. And so you could get like dejected, right? And then all of a sudden, at one point in their business, they're in the living room. It doesn't look like anything promising. Some guy speaks to another guy. They hit Roy Balmer, a policeman from Windsor, Ontario. 32 months or 36 months diamond. That's good, eh? I think you forget that it took you 7 years to hit 1,000 points at that point. Right? Wow. All these stories we have in the business. And I'm going to let Nadia start it off, and I'll be back in a few minutes. I'll be right here somewhere.
Okay. Wherever you like.
Okay. I can choose.
It's what Annie was talking about, the thin threads of how people get in this business, how people were met, how people were introduced to this business. It's really crazy, crazy, crazy. The thin threads. If someone had turned left on the street instead of right, wouldn't have met that person, and the whole organization wouldn't have been there. And that's basically what happened with us. As a matter of fact, if Peter could come up here, because the first half of the story is his story of how I got contacted. So Peter, if you can keep it under 5 minutes. How it all began, because it began through Peter. And
got it.
That's 30 seconds.
There you go, 30 seconds. So quickly, Andy and Nadia and myself, we all got involved in this jet ski business many years ago. And then we came back. We pretty much lost everything, all to have a lady by the name of Nancy, who was high school. We went to high school together. Her dad had a clothing store about a few blocks away from my parents' house, where they lived. And my father was a regular customer there. Little did we know that they were at anyways, Nadia will say later, but they were at the end of the rope in terms of the business, giving it another chance. And the other chance was that she contacted my father, who was a waiter at the time in a restaurant business. Are you looking? My father says, well, not really, but maybe I could talk to my son. So I got a call from my father saying, hey, listen, you know Nancy, she has some kind of a business. Do me a favor and check her out. So out of respect, I accepted. Now, was I looking? We were looking. We lost our shirts in business, but we were still looking. And she came to give me an advertising pack at the car stereo store we were at. I basically didn't even listen to it. I know that Nadia was looking also, so I gave it to Nadia. And I remember she was listening to it in my car, and she fell asleep in my car just before Nancy came to our car stereo store to show us a capsule plan like Andy talks about. It was a 15-minute plan in a cubicle office that it was me, Nadia, Nancy, and Andy would jump in and out of the office during busy time to see what was going on. Till this day, I do not remember what I saw. But it continued from there, and she continued the communication and contact with Nadia. And from there, and this was all because of my dad. Fine, that was the connection. But things happen for a reason. You're all here for a reason, okay? Because of the thin threads, and that was the thin thread. So I'm grateful for that, and because of that, and I didn't get involved in the business.
I wanted you to tell that part.
Yeah, I didn't get involved in the business. Andy and Nadia got involved in the business almost 8-9 months after this contact was done. So their upline was patient enough to follow up, stay in touch with them, and they got contacted in April. They got in the business in December. Showed me the plan. I said, I'm not getting involved now. What kind of a Mickey Mouse business at the time was $120? I was telling Andy, we've been involved in businesses, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I said, for $120, I said, nah, it doesn't make any sense. For me, it did not make any sense. For Andy, it made sense. He says, what do I have to lose for $120? So I did not get involved in a business. It was the only time I was not involved in a business with Andy. Before that, we were involved in all businesses.
Now, I got to tell you, I wasn't necessarily any more interested than Peter. But Nadia, like Nancy, she said, sounds good. I said, okay. So so all that to say, if I was single too, we probably wouldn't have been in.
There you go. Thin threads. But
Now, when did you finally get it?
when did I finally get in? This is very important. You need listen to this. You do not want this to happen to you. Okay? 6 months after they got in, I eventually got in, and only I got in because during that period of time, I saw Andy, and I was becoming like negative. I said, what's this business all about? He's always on the phone. He was with his upline on a daily basis when it was quiet in the store. I did not understand that. For me, it was like he's taking time away from our business. He goes and he talks to my first cousin, George, who decided to get involved in the business. So Andy comes in one morning, hey, Pete, guess what? Your cousin George got involved in the business. Now, Peter was thinking prior to this event about maybe this could work. I was just thinking about it. Maybe I could talk to this person. So when he came in to tell me that, I, to be conservative, was upset. So we were I said, well, I was going to sign up, George. How are you going to? I thought you didn't want to know anything about this. Well, I've been thinking about it. So my upline, Nadia's famous line was, you snooze, you lose. They were trying to see if we can maybe change the sponsorship, but it didn't happen. George went silver, and he sponsored a couple underneath that went platinum. Again, it's thin threads. Maybe the connection was not going to happen, but don't wait for things to happen, because you might meet this cousin or friend or neighbor or next door neighbor at an ICO next week. And you're going to look at each other and say, hey, what are you doing here? Well, what are you doing here? Well, I'm in the business. So am I. When did you get in? Well, I got in a few weeks ago. Well, how about you? I've been in why didn't you call me? What are you going to tell them? I didn't think highly of you, or that maybe you would be looking. So get these people off your list fast. That's my story.
And why we have a tremendous amount of respect for Peter is because he did get in, despite all that. And always have a special place in our heart for his father, that we knew before the business, but because, thank goodness. And that's what I mean about the thin threads. You never know. And what Peter was alluding to was that when Nancy finally went to contact his dad, she was ready to quit before that. She was done. She had contacted so many people in Montreal. Her fiance was from Massachusetts, and she was done. She says, it's not working. Everybody has said no. And her upline said, can you give it 30 more days? And in those 30 days, we happened. So you see, you never know. When is it a good time to quit? Never. Because you never know who you're going to meet. And so that was it. So Nancy invited me to a meeting, and we went, even though it was very late. It was like already almost 9 o'clock, and the meeting started at 8, and it was at the east end of town. And Andy was tired from work. We had promised our future sponsor, that we would be there. And so Andy says, shall we go? We're so late. I said, we told her we'd be there. We're people of our word. We're going to keep our word. We're going to go. Well, he slept through half of it. I slept through the other half because it was so boring. The guy was crazy. I just, loud noise puts me to sleep. But I woke up at the part where they said Amway. And all I knew about Amway was what my dentist had told me when I was working for him part-time. He said, because something came up on the news, he says, that company's no good. Now, what made my dentist an authority on business of any kind, I don't know. But that's all that I remembered. All that Andy remembered about Amway was that Gordie Howe was an IBO, right? Back then. So we knew very little, in other words. But I knew Amway just didn't sit well with me. So when we left the meeting, we came outside, and she came to speak to me about it. And she was very nice. I liked her. This is why, don't worry about your technique. Work on yourself. That's more important, because she was so nice, I really liked her. And she asked me, she said, so, what do you think? And I said, nah, it's not for me. And she says, why? Well, I didn't, it's Amway. I don't want to be doing Amway, And she says, well, what do you know about Amway? My dentist told me it wasn't good, I must have sounded so brilliant to her. And this is why we don't like this part, because we show you how stupid we were. And, it's been, I don't think today I would have told Peter, you snooze, you lose, because I've read many books since then, so, but it's important for you to see where we came from. And so she says to me, well, what if we show it to a few of your friends? If you're not interested, we'll show it to a few of your friends. We'll see what they think. I don't know. I don't think so. And I said, can't they change their name? And she says, you mean Amway? You want Amway to change their name? I said, yeah, why can't they change their name, And she looked at me and she says, well, have you ever done something you were embarrassed about or ashamed of? Not that the company had done anything bad, but I was 27 by then, so the answer was yes, of course, And she says, well, why don't you change your name? And you can only do that with a D. Remember the personalities? And so I thought, okay, that made sense. That was logical. She says, listen, you have nothing to lose. Let's just show your friends and we'll see what they say. So I invited, and I keep saying every seminar, the number gets bigger and bigger. But if you include the spouses and, all the things, there are, 18 people? 14, 18, 20, 23, depends what seminar, but around there, I had invited everybody I knew, basically, my circle of friends, and 2 single guys showed up. And I was so angry, because, like I said, when you get in this business, you wear your emotions on your sleeve all of a sudden. I was so hurt angry, not angry, hurt angry, because I felt like that was very disloyal. They should have come just to make sure that whoever these people were, they weren't going to steal our money or rip us off or get us into a scam, out of concern for us, because, we had done some stuff like that for them. So that was our start to the business. I built this business out of anger. I was going to show them. I was going to prove it to them. Like Dex says, watch my dust, watch my smoke. Why are you laughing? Okay, come. Here we go. It's going to be one of those seminars.
Because I always say, anyways, Nadia would have been a good mobster,
Mob boss.
mob boss, not kingpin, queenpin, because like she gets that way. I mean, she has steam coming out of her ears, and now here this is the key. It wasn't just Pete's cousin. We had shown till Pete got in. We showed the plan to quite a few friends that were mutual friends of ours. That first night, it was 2 people Pete knows that came. One of them got signed up. He's signed up in the business 3 times. He's threatened to do something. And the other one didn't get in. Very good friends of ours still to this day. And many people got in, but eventually only like one stuck, which was happened to be Pete's cousin too, a part of the group. And the funny thing is, this guy, at one point, going to do a board plan at his house. And he didn't listen very well. So he was like, listen, I'm just going to tell everybody it's Amway, and I'm going to fill my house. They're going to come there because of me. All right, man. Yeah, cool. If you think it's going to work, whatever. That's great. We want to see people there. So I went there, and there was a no-show. Nobody was there. Surprise, surprise. So we're sitting outside his house in Laval. He's standing outside, he's smoking a cigarette, and he's going, I don't get it. Like he said, I had like 10 guys said they were going to come. I said, well, what'd you tell them? So like I told them it was Amway, and it's great, and they need to come see it. I said, well, and he's a pretty intense, choleric individual. So I said, you might want to think of not doing that, Why? What's the problem? I said, you see the problem. I said, some people takes a long time to learn a lesson, right? And so this guy, he quit eventually. He stopped doing anything because he kept trying to come up with lines to tell people. And I remember he was so dejected because he was on a plane, and he turns to the guy next to him and he says, you look like a pretty sharp guy. And the guy says, who, me? He says, yeah. He says, no, I'm not. So he took that as a sign his business won't work for him. And so he quit, But thank God we still have people from their group in our business. So you never know where it goes, right? So all kinds of crazy stories like that. One guy who I went to school with his sister, and he was the DJ at our wedding. I showed him the plan. You ever show somebody the plan? And in their mind, they automatically, they sprout ideas that you didn't mention. They come up with another business. It's almost like you help them come up with an idea. And he says, oh, yeah, like that. I said, oh, bro, easy, He says, no, we got to talk to my brother-in-law. So I spoke to his brother-in-law, whose wife, was in the same school as me, class as me, long time ago. She was doing skincare. So he knew everything about this business, and actually I found out he knew everything about everything. So this guy doesn't really want to do it. Actually, he starts sponsoring some people and tells them, don't get on the system, don't buy CDs, don't go to seminars. But one night anyways, I'm breaking his kit. I'm giving him his kit because the wife didn't want to know nothing. And his friend shows up. And he says, what's going on? So I show him what's going on. He says, I want in too. Give me a kit. I said, I don't have any more kits for you. I said, you have to wait till next week. He said, no, you got to give me a kit. He wanted in. He wanted to get in to do it. Anyway, so that guy became a sapphire in our group. So the DJ and his brother-in-law didn't do nothing, were discouraging people from getting it. He had another leg, this guy, the brother-in-law. And he kept discouraging him from doing anything. We're coming to the events like this. So he dies young, 52 years old, the brother-in-law. And I'm saying, he already had a sapphire leg. Man, what would it have hurt him to have another leg or two for his wife to have an income, So crazy stuff like that has happened. Another one is, my aunt. She finds out after a while that we're doing this business.
Now she finds out because we're not attending any family things. And she's saying, where are they? Where'd they go? We don't see them anymore. What are you guys doing? We don't see you anymore.
So I said, well, we're doing this business with these people, or, She says, I want to see. I want to do it. No. See, my aunt's crazy, She doesn't speak French or English. She's like a high sanguine, She cooks. She's cooks things, herbs, and comes up with remedies and sprouts things in her kitchen. This was weird to me then. I said, no way. No. Oh, she says, and I'm going to talk to my friend too. And I know her friend. That's crazy squared. So she talks to her friend, and they want to get in. They forced us to sign them up. And we broke some platinums under there. My aunt still didn't build the business, but that's okay. That's okay. We're good with that, right? Okay. Some people in here and other parts of the world, actually, in their group. And it was, even under Peter, I remember, we spoke. Listen to this. This is the funniest part, okay? We had a printer who was the most negative guy on the planet.
In those days, a printer was a human being.
Yeah, a printer, not. He owned a print shop, not a printer, not an HP or something. The young people are going, what's a printer, right? So this guy had a print shop, negative guy, bad attitude. We talked to him about Pete had spoken to him about the business. And then he says, he wasn't interested, didn't want to know nothing, but he says, I have a friend who's looking for a multi-level business. You should talk to him. All right. So we get on the phone, we talk to him. It took, like, I think, 10 meetings of detail, going over things with this guy. He gets in. Well, he's about to get in. And so we tell our printer friend, Pete says, what am I going to do with this guy? This guy, the bottom guy wants to get in. This guy is not signing up. So I call him up. I said, listen, he's getting in. He's either getting in under Peter or under you. Make up your mind. Have your cash here by 5 o'clock. And he came to give the cash. Right? And so, I mean, unbelievable, right? The guy almost didn't get in. And the guy under him went emerald. Wow. Pretty good. Went inactive a few years later, but was cashing in checks for years. People say, did he quit? I said, no, he's not stupid. He's cashing in checks, right? He's just inactive. So people say, why? Well, people can do whatever they want. And this guy, we did the printer guy, did another meeting in his living room. He had people there. And can you imagine with your own people there, we're showing the plan for him, and he's being negative. Saying there's no help for this guy, you know what I mean? But he didn't know what he had in his hand. So some people, they won't even wake up with a lightning bolt in their head, you know? So anyway, when those two people came and they saw the plan, and one of them got in, well, I didn't really care about them. And like I said, we didn't have the money. We weren't in yet when those two people came. We weren't in yet. We said okay at the same time as our downline said okay. And so we got in and we did nothing. That's how brilliant we were. We did nothing. It took us 3 months to even order toothpaste. Tell me,
The toothpaste.
yeah. Where were you getting your products with Nancy?
Well, I was meeting her at Nautilus, and we were exchanging products from the trunk of the car. And I didn't order the products because they were too expensive. And when I finally looked at the price list and saw, my famous toothpaste story. Who has not heard my toothpaste story? They all heard it, babe.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
Len didn't hear it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I looked at the price list and I saw how expensive the toothpaste was. And I said, when he walked in the door, I flung the price list because no paper, yeah, no computers, yeah. And I said, you're crazy if you think I'm going to spend this much. And I'm the one who wanted the business, but I was going to build the business to diamond without buying a product. I was going to do that because the products were too expensive. So I saw the toothpaste and I said, this is crazy expensive. It doesn't make any sense. Forgetting about what you all know about the quality of it. And Andy says to me, Nadia, he says, if we buy, because he had all the business experience, I had none. And he said, if we buy 100 points worth of products and throw them out or give them to charity or whatever, it is still the least expensive business we have ever built. And that appealed to me. I went, okay, not that that's what you're going to do and you get good value and all that. That as IBOs. But I understood because, we had lost a lot of money in other businesses.
At this point, it's important to note that we missed our first major function. We have one coming up, Free Enterprise. And they told us in March they were going to Tennessee. See? I said, are they crazy? Tennessee? Where are you going to Tennessee for? And I didn't know, right? But Ray and Nancy were going to Tennessee, and they came back and they told us they were new silvers. And I said, wow, okay, that's nice. I'm not going to Tennessee. And I realized today was a mistake. It probably delayed our business those 3 months because we didn't know anything. We went to our first seminar in May of that year because in April, I sent my cousin who got in, my cousin and her friend, I sent them to their first seminar before I went to one. Delegation, right? And so I sent it and they came back and I said, how was it? And this is what she said to me. They told her to say this to us. She said, you need to be there. I can't tell you. Go find out for yourself. Okay. On the next month, me, Nadia, my other cousin, and her 6'6" Polish husband, we took a shoehorn and we fit into my Honda Prelude. You ever been in a Prelude? I urge you not to do it with a 6'6" guy and 2 girls. They sat in the back across from each other, their legs crossed because there was no room behind our seats. And we drove down with the Prelude, and we got to our first seminar, and that's where it clicked. I heard something I needed to hear. Our upline emerald, Paul Berghoffen, said, we qualify emerald every single month, and we do 230 PV a month personal volume. Now, maybe it's in code, maybe it was encrypted for me. Don't ask me what part of that it clicked, but it clicked. And I said, this'll work. I'm glad I didn't say it out loud back then. I said, okay. So I was excited, number one, because if I showed it to people, they're going to get in. And number two, I was upset. I was depressed because I had to hurry up and get back to Montreal. What if everybody gets in under somebody else? So I had to hurry. I was worried about saturation. I wanted it to saturate my group. So I started showing the plan, and by the 10th plan or 12th plan, I figured out saturation is not going to be a problem. The guy who says it's going to saturate, I say, are you going to get in? He says, no. He proves it wrong. I say, how can it saturate if you're not going to get in? If there's enough of you, there's no saturation. He didn't get it, But anyways. So that's when we went go-getter. In June of that year, we went go-getter for the first time and didn't stop till way after we went diamond. And that's, that's where, once you figure it out, man, and you believe it, you catch on fire. No.
And I think that was the secret, was the consistency. We didn't do anything crazy in this business. We just showed plan. Every night was, where are we showing the plan tonight? Where are we showing the plan tonight? Where are we showing the plan tonight? Very boring. If you had followed us, you would have fallen asleep. We built the business very methodically. Just a plan every night. That's it.
So we started, as we were building the business and getting it done, we started to get some traction, some cooperative people, because it's not Andy and Nadia. It was Andy and Nadia doing something, and we were copying some people, and a whole bunch of other people were copying us, who were copying other people. And just a copycat business, right? You've read the book, Copycat Marketing. And it was just fantastic as it all started to come together. And we were very profitable very early. Nadia told you about that house. She didn't mention to you that one of the things we used as chairs, we were sitting on the boxes of tapes that used to come to our house. That's where we sat to eat, on the boxes, And this is because we had an apartment on the 3rd story. And I remember, we would hear the dogs barking in the Honda dealership parking lot across the street. Yeah, but you could still hear them. And so we would, on the 3rd story, pickup started to get crazy. The amount of products would come, and we'd start throwing things out the balcony for our downline to catch. And we kept the kits in the car, but we'd have to move them in, because it was cold in the winter. And so we decided it got so big the volume, we rented a basement apartment. So then we put like a plank, like a ramp, so that the courier guy could just slide it down into the basement. And so there was 130 cases. This is outside of any platinums in our group, just our personal group. 130 cases, and the driver of the truck company says, "Wow, what are you going to do with all this?" I said, "Bro, it's been ordered, it's been paid for. By tomorrow, 24 hours from now, it's all going to be gone. People are going to come get it." He says, "Really?" He says, "How many people are going to come get it?" And it was, I don't know how many legs were at the time, like 10 or 11. I said, 10, 11 people are going to come, and they're going to do the same thing at their place. He said, "Sounds like a lot of trouble." As he's grabbing boxes, I said, "Well, I'd rather move boxes for me than move boxes for a boss." Okay, whatever. And then we got the house because it was getting ridiculous. We were paying a mortgage payment and apartment rent. And so we got the place. And I'll never forget, because I was out of touch with reality, with this alarm guy that I knew from before. He came to set up the alarm in our house. He was a salesman. He was doing the estimate. He says, wow, you're doing that business. He says, that's good. He says, wow, you were able to buy this house. That's pretty impressive. And we were, 30 years old at the time. I said, don't get too impressed. I said, I have a mortgage. I took a bank's money, to buy it. And he says, no. He says, but don't you get it? He says, you qualified for a mortgage. Oh yeah. Yeah. I said, really? Is this an issue? I didn't know it was an issue, right? It was like, wow, okay, great. The new perspective, right? So, you interested in the business? No. Okay. Whatever. And so, people along the way, I remember our neighbor came, the guy next door. This guy was rollerblade. He looked like 65, 70. I don't know what he did. Or maybe he just looked that old. And he came over to the house and he says to me, and knocks on the door. I answer, he says, is your dad home? In French. He spoke French. Is your father home? And I said, I guess he's home. I don't know. I said, you know my dad? He goes, no, but whoever owns the house, he says, is he here? I said, it's me. And we've always had that problem. Even when Pete and I had the store, representatives were 22. I think I looked like 18 then, Representatives would come and say, I want to speak to the owner of the store. At the beginning, I was stupid. And I would say, that's me. And they go, no, really. Come on, kid. Who owns the store? Us. We do. No, okay. And then, reps trying to sell us something. After a while, I used it to my advantage. He's not here right now. He's gone. He has other businesses to tend to. I'm just, the kid on duty. So I used it. But we always had this issue. And it was an experience. So the 1st of April, 1993, I was able to get at a stereo shop. I remember talking to Pete and saying, Pete, it's time. I'm going to go. I don't know if you want to stick around. He says, no, if you're going, I'm going. So we both sold out of the stereo shop. And I remember it was such a huge snowstorm that we met our lawyer on Chenoise in Laval. And I don't know how many plans have been done in there, how many meetings we had after a meeting there. But that was so symbolic. And Nadia, who didn't like the store, was crying that day. She was, end of an era, And so it was like so cool. We were leaving for Florida like 5 days later for Go Diamond weekend. And I was saying, so cool. Can you imagine? How many of you can imagine leaving for a trip free? And when you come back, you're not going to work. And I remember I used to get this dreaded feeling anytime I landed in Montreal. I used to feel bad. And I used to think I had a problem with Montreal. But I didn't have a problem with Montreal. I had a problem with coming back to my routine, to my job, to all that, the crap. And once I was free, hey, we're back in Montreal, back home. And so we, hung out all day long, right?
Yeah, have ever since, right? I quit my job in September of 92. I was 30 years old. Everybody at work thought I was nuts. But one of our biggest dreams was to hang out with the Diamonds. We just wanted to be around these people. And, and it is, for me, the best part of this business is being part of that group. I wanted to be part of that club where, diamond meetings. We just had another one a couple of days ago, and it's just the wisdom of all these diamonds. I'm still impressed today. I mean, they just know so much. And when we went diamond, there were so many diamonds that year, so many people. There were 7 free enterprises. You know how there's a couple in October? There were 7 of them. They flew us in a private jet to each one. It was awesome. I mean, and the Diamonds were coming up to us and saying, congratulations, shaking our hands. And we were starstruck. We couldn't believe it that they even knew our name. And we were just like, wow, floored. I remember one event. Some of you were there. It was in Massachusetts, and it was a big, big rally, a big seminar. A lot of people coming. And we knew where the Diamonds were going to be staying, which hotel, right? Was that in Worcester, Massachusetts? And we knew where the Diamonds were staying. So our organization, if you notice at any functions, we're the ones who are up the latest, right? It's always our guys. The Jaegers know that, the Argyris group, We wait for them because we want to just spend as much time with them as possible and get as much wisdom and just, absorb what they know. So we've been doing that since the beginning. And so we were sitting in the hotel waiting for the diamonds to come because the function had ended. We knew they were going to eventually get there. They're all pulling up now, the diamonds. And so we all get out. I don't know how many we were. 40, 100 of us. We all get out from the lobby and start storming out of the hotel because the diamonds are coming. We're like, going right through them. Well, at the same time, that same weekend, there was it MC Hammer? I think it was MC Hammer was performing in that town, and he had this, bus, this motorhome bus, whatever, Prevost coach, whatever it was. And when the bodyguards saw all of us coming out, they all got next to the bus to protect MC Hammer. And we all flew right by. They were watching us all go. Nobody was going to the bus. Nobody could care less about him. If you don't know who he was a big deal back then. A singer, rapper, whatever. And so we all flew by MC Hammer's bus to storm the diamonds. That the bodyguards were asking, who are those people? Who are they that they're getting, more attention than we are? It was so cool. I don't think we did much for his ego, though, the poor guy. I see 100 people storming, going right by the bus. Nobody stopped there. And the bodyguards were ready for action, They didn't have to do anything. But it's a business of relationships. Yes, there's a lot of technique, but it is definitely a business of relationships. And Dexter always said, you build a friendship first, and then you will get a platinum ship. So remember that, especially, when Andy was doing the wheel, the C's and the D's, the task-oriented people. Remember, your biggest challenge is going to be prioritizing people. I remember when our upline would travel 6 hours to do home meetings for us, and if it was a no-show, not in our home, in the basement of the store. If there was a no-show, we would get up and go, oh, I would be so happy because that meant we could go see a movie. So I would say, oh, let's go. We can catch the movie, we can catch the 9 o'clock movie. Nobody no-shows. And we would leave our sponsor and our upline sitting there like bacalas in the basement. Their downline gone, no prospects. And we went to the movie. We would ask them, let's go for ice cream. We weren't going to sit around and do nothing. So they never said a word. Here's the key. They never criticized us. Everything we did was okay, because I think if they would have criticized us, it would have been a problem.
So within 4 or 5 years, we hit the emerald level. We broke 3 platinum legs. And then the next year, 6. So we hit the diamond level, and we're able to go to Hawaii and Peter Island. Oh, and they're changing that, by the way. They're going to Diamond Dreams, which is the Peter Island trip for diamonds and above. They'll be doing some other exclusive areas to vary it up a little bit, to not make it Peter Island all the time, and the poor guys get bored. See, solving problems before you guys even get there, huh? And one of the big things for me growing up as a kid and going to Greece all the time was I always saw Mercedes as wow, that's the brand to own. That's the car. I love that car. It was I like tanks. I like tanks, and so I was I remember going to the dealerships, and you guys know this because while we're growing in the business, I couldn't even afford to buy the tires of a Benz. Tire of a Benz, or anything like that, the maintenance or anything. So I remember going, and one lady in particular, a lady sales rep at the dealership on the Cary, said, says, can I help you? I said, no, I'm looking around. She says, you looking for your father? I said, no, I know where my father is. I choose on purpose not to understand sometimes,
That's what it is.
Now with you, honey. No, but and I choose not to get the actual meaning of what they said. With you, sometimes I choose not to hear, right? It's honey, put some money on the table, the guy says, the lady says, put some money on the table, I'm going to go shopping. Put $20 on the table. He says, what did you say? I didn't hear you. She says, put $40 on the table, I'm going to go shopping. He says, I heard you the first time. So I was, excited going to buy them and getting insulted like this, all the time. So when are you going to buy it? And the one in Laval especially all the time. So you ready to buy it? You ready to buy it? No, not yet. So how's things? Like it's tonight, always things like that. Maybe they weren't doing it like that bad. I think maybe we were oversensitive, Well, anyways, one day we decided, it's time. It's time to get it. It's a big dream. And so I go to dealership and just happened the lady traded one in, like not even a year old. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, wow, he says, that's available right now. Right now, he says. I said, yeah, how much? He says, if you take it right now, and he gave me a crazy price. I don't know what it was. It was like a crazy low price. It was like, it was 8 months old, the car, and he was taking off like $35,000 off the list price or something like that. I said, okay, deal. I'll be right back. And I remember him sitting there going, well, what do you mean deal? I said, okay, we're doing it now. We're going to do it. This is it. That's the car. And it was beautiful. I loved it. It was fantastic. The right color combinations and everything. I said, I'll be right back. He said, no, wait a minute. What do you mean? I said, well, he said, well, listen, if you're going to take it, we got to talk price. I said, you just gave me the price. No, he says, I was just, fooling. You're fooling around? Really? I said, am I going to have to go somewhere else? No, let's talk. So we figured it out. He stuck to the price. He was true to his word. He was like the whole time. But we got, and then the big thing I remember was a motor coach. I saw them. I fell in love with motor coaches. And, it's like the average guy doesn't think they can afford a motor coach. And you tried to explain it. Like I remember one car salesman loved my motor coach, says, I want to get one. I said, well, bro, I said, you need to get in business. You're going to own a motor coach as an employee? Are you suicidal? This is Quebec. He says, oh, yeah, eh? Yeah, hey. And so we got a motor coach. Our upline was selling his because he moved on to a little quicker mode of transportation like plane. And they said, oh, we'll take that. And even today, you can start off with a Prevost. You'd be surprised. They don't, people think they cost a lot. Like to repair the radiator system on the Prevost, it costs less than repairing the radiator system on a Mercedes. Okay, because it's different industry. Anyways. We got it. It was so exciting. I remember Jordan was young. He was learning how to walk. He learned how to walk on a motor coach. That's why he has very good balance.
We got him the same month, the coach and Jordan.
We got him the same month, Jordan and the coach. I probably shouldn't have ordered Jordan at the same time. But it was fun, and we traveled all together. Jordan was backstage. We had the coach parked at the function. Sometimes the back it was Jordan's little, nursery room. Some people have a nursery room, in the house. They paint it blue. We had a nursery room, 40-foot nursery room, yeah. And it was a lot of fun. We had fun for a couple of years. We got to, enjoy that. Going through the border, we had crazy stories all the time. I remember the guy saying, the border guard, the driver says, he's in Amway, the guy. Says, tell him to come down. So I went down, he's walking around, says, so Amway paid for this? Like, no, not Amway paid for this. My business paid for this. He says, but with Amway products, right? I said, yeah. He says, my brother-in-law tried that, and it didn't work. I don't know what, I had to be careful, right? I've had border issues my whole life. I don't do well with these guys, and I said, what can I tell you? Sorry? I said, one of them was like, do you know how much gas one of these burns? Yeah. Yeah. I remember I left the downline there. I said, hold the thing. I'll be right back. I went to the washroom. I came back. He says, it hasn't stopped. I said, yeah, I know. It'll keep going. And so it's crazy, when you go downline and what they pay in rent, you put in gas,
One time we filled up the tank. It was like a $400 bill to fill it up. And back then, 18 years ago. So it was, we filled up, but it was one of those stops where it had shops and stores and everything. So we had been doing a bit of shopping and whatever, bought a couple things, and then we get in the coach and drive off. Completely forget to pay the gas bill. So we're driving down the highway, and Andy sees, no, it wasn't a police car. No, it was the gas station guy's service truck trying to catch up to us, following us, and we're looking at each other, and he goes, wonder why he's chasing us. We both suddenly had this light bulb. Oh no, we pulled over the side of the road, and he paid the guy right away, and you should have seen his face. It was totally white.
I said, really? I didn't. I said, I paid for something. I bought a magazine or something. Sorry. So it was like,
That would never happen with a D or a C.
Yeah, a D or a C. Yeah, that'd be impossible, probably. Well, it depends. When D's and C's allow their calendar to get super full, it could happen. But they don't allow for it to happen, right? Because they're in control. So I get... I said to the guy, so what do you take, American Express or whatever? He says, no, cash. So anyways, I was able to pay cash, thank God. It was crazy, like little stories like that. I remember once I pulled into the oil place on Laurentian. It's now a Minute Muffler or Service Plus or whatever. And I'd gone there with the Benz, and I brought my Amway synthetic motor oil. We had motor oil back then. And so I brought it to him, and I put it on there. And one mechanic comes around, looks at it, Amway. He says, you're going to put Amway motor oil in a Mercedes? I said, what do you think paid for it? I said, it only knows this kind of food. So this is, just little things along the way. Never mind the free time. Never mind being able to take naps. But one big dream for me, because I always saw this business as global. Since I was very young, I said, I don't want to be working by the time I'm 30. I don't want to be working anymore for anybody else. I don't want a job. And number two is I want a business I can do both here and in Greece and in other parts of the world. And so we went diamond, and in '96 they announced that Amway was opening up in Greece. We got excited, man. We started flying over there. We're doing opens at the Hilton. And the funny part of that is other diamonds, they didn't come to open. They sent their kids, second generations. So I was hanging around with Scotty, with Michael, and David Setzer, that you all know. And I remember sitting there with David Setzer. He's talking to Roman Hausman over in Czech Republic. Roman was like 0 PV. And today he's an executive diamond. Monster group. And so we were there with those kids, and I remember the Diamond kids were sitting downstairs in the Marriott in a Japanese restaurant, having, they're cooking things in the middle, and the kids are laughing because they said, my dad drove to meetings in his car, slept in his car, slept in rest areas, in cheap hotels. We're not building it that way. They're saying, Marriott or bust, that's our minimum. Marriott is... I said, oh, this is fun. Okay. It was fun. Anyways, we've had a lot of fun in the business, guys, and we're looking forward. Any of you seedlings looking to come up as emeralds? Right? Look, there's worse things that can happen in your life. Okay? But think emerald and break in emeralds, because emerald and having emeralds signifies freedom in your life. How many of you would love the stress of needing money to be gone from your life? It doesn't mean you go become irresponsible, but if you can remain responsible with your money, it means you don't have to go and work for a paycheck anymore. How cool would that be? Huh? So,
okay. And what this business made possible for us is, as most of you know, in 2010 we moved to Florida, because the money that comes from this business is mailbox money. It arrives, well, now it's direct deposit. So direct deposits into your bank account. So you can live anywhere in the world. And that's what we did. We could stay here, I know, don't freak, we won't, but we could stay here for hours and hours more, because we just want to give you all the information we have, just so that, like I said at the beginning, you can build it bigger and faster than we did. So